Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Maria Tomas-Keegan, and I want to welcome you to the show where we share wit and wisdom and some wonderful experts to help women navigate career and life challenges and changes. And most importantly, to let you know that you are not alone. Each week, through our conversations, we share resources to encourage women to be more confident, resilient, and brave in their life choices. We stream live weekly every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time on the E360 TV network, which you can find on your favorite streaming channels like Roku and Apple TV and Amazon Fire. And we go live simultaneously on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, where you can interact with us. And if you prefer to be on the run and listen to your favorite shows, we're also on all the podcast channels. So if something inspires you today and you want more, please subscribe to your favorite channel, leave us a comment, share your favorite episodes so we can create more ripples in the world for women. So, how often have you faced a challenge and said, "Oh, I can't do that"? Or you've thought of all the excuses for why you can't? Don't feel bad. You're not alone. Most of us do this at one point or another in our lives. So, I thought you might like to meet Jodi Greve, who has an empowering philosophy called Why Not? Jodi is a former intercollegiate women's basketball coach, a renowned motivational speaker. She's an author and a performance mindset coach. She humbly says she's just an ordinary person who's done a few extraordinary things. And now she teaches what she's learned. From competitive sports arenas to her climbs to the summits of Machu Picchu and Mount Kilimanjaro, she shows us how these challenges and triumphs are mirrored in our lives, offering powerful lessons in perseverance and personal growth. So let's explore how the simple question, why not, can redefine your approach to personal and professional challenges. Welcome, Jodi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. But before we hear all of this great background that I just mentioned, would you tell us just a bit about this why not mindset and why you believe people should embrace it?
Of course, for a while, I was involved with different organizations that always said you needed to have a why. You had to have a really strong why. And whenever they were referring this why, it was often mentioned that you needed a why that can make you cry, right?
Mm,
And it was something that they believed like you needed to do it for your children or for your husband, or you're in a dire financial situation, whatever the case may be. And all of these instances were very hard for me because, one, I don't have kids, I'm not married, and I have thankfully been able to have a pretty strong financial background, and I haven't had any major life instance, if you will, and very thankful for that. But whenever people would always ask me about a why, it was more of a why not? Like, why do I need something that makes me cry and is super emotional? And it's not saying that you can't have that, but for those of us who don't have that, we're very, very fortunate. Why not just take the journey to do something new, to try something else, and strive for a certain goal instead of having a specific reason that's going to make you cry? Why not just do it because you can?
I love that. I love that. And it's flipping the script a little bit
Mhm.
to fit who you are and what you care most about, right? And it's the nothing's going to stop me, right?
Mhm.
But it was it Anne Rand. I'm not sure that I can quote this specifically, but it was she had a quote that said something like, um, I'm not even going to be able to quote it, but I'm going to paraphrase that it is, you know, looking at something and saying, try to stop me, right?
Mhm.
Tell me I can't do something, try to stop me. And that's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Why not?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I was a kid, it was more of a I shouldn't say just as a kid, pretty much into my 30s, it was more of a
As a kid,
stubbornness.
right? Still
It
a
was
kid.
more of a stubbornness, like, "Oh, you're telling me no? No, 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 no.
Yeah,
That's
just
not gonna
watch
work
me.
for me."
Yeah, just watch me. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So let's hear a little bit about the background that got you here to this philosophy of why not. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I got out of college coaching, and it was something that I never thought would happen. I coached college basketball for 14 years, and I just got to a situation where if I was going to move on from a particular college, if I was going to stay there, if what, just trying to feel out all of my options at the time. And nothing really excited me because I really believe that no matter what your job is, the majority of it should not feel like work. Of course, there's going to be all these things that fit into your job requirement. That's going to be a little bit of work. A big thing of mine was paperwork. Who likes to do paperwork, right? But there's other aspects of your job that you have to do, and if they really start to weigh on you, and you really start to feel like it's work, I personally believe you need to find something else to do, because if it's weighing on you that much and you're not enjoying it, you're going to get miserable, and then you're going to be miserable to be around. And for me personally, I did not want to become that person. I did not want to be the miserable, grumpy person in the office on the recruiting trail that nobody wanted to be around. And I had the opportunity at the time to go ahead and take a time out from coaching. And I moved back to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and really kind of started this life that I had no idea what I was doing. I did not have another 9 to 5 job lined up or anything like that. And I started my journey as a health coach, and so I became certified in that. And I still do that as kind of I incorporate it into other things, but that was the main focus for a while. And I wanted to be able to travel, and a lot of the travel started coming up. And the biggest one was when I decided to climb Kilimanjaro. And of course, a lot of people were like, "Well, why do you want to do that?" And my simple answer was, why not? Well, why wouldn't I want to go do something like that and challenge myself to something that not a lot of people in the world do, and not even a lot of people that attempt and start out to do it are able to complete it. And at the time, I really wanted to be able to prove to myself that I could do something physically demanding, because I was fortunate enough in college and in my adult life that I was surrounded by very high elite level athletes, and was in awe of what they were able to accomplish. And these people were NBA All-Stars, they were NFL Pro Bowlers, they were Olympic medalists, Olympians, and I was jealous of the fact that I did not have the athletic ability to even begin to do something like that. And it was never a jealousy of them, because they put in the hard work, they did all the things, but I just wanted to be able to experience something like that for myself. And I think that that's what led to Kilimanjaro. And people ask me, why do I want to do it? And a lot of the issue was, well, Jodi, you have really bad knees. You've got a bad back. And it's like, so what? I'm going to have bad knees and a bad back sitting on my couch. So there's things that I need to at least attempt and try and see if that's something that I can push myself to do. So when they were asking me why, I just kept saying, well, why not?
And you got to the summit of Kilimanjaro, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Yes, ma'am. That's a huge accomplishment. And one that requires, because you have bad knees and a bad back, it requires a certain level of conditioning to get yourself ready for that, right? What did you do to get conditioned for it?
So luckily, I do work out pretty much every day. But when I did decide to do this, I changed it up a little bit. And this was something else that I would not recommend to other people. I didn't know. I decided in August of 2018, I was talking to a friend of mine who was asking me for some advice. She was about to make a life changing decision. And I told her, just say yes and figure out the details later. And the next morning I woke up and asked myself, why am I not doing the same thing with Kilimanjaro? Because I had been
Wow.
talking about it for almost 8 years at that point. And so within 24 hours, I had my ticket booked, I had everything done, and I was like, holy cow, how am I going to make this happen? How am I going to pay for it? And how am I going to train for this? And this was in August. It was August 28th of 2018, and I left January 8th of 2019. So that's a very short 4 months. And come to find out, they recommend kind of a 6 to 9 month training for this. So I called upon one of my friends who is a personal trainer and had her train me with weights and using the muscles, really strengthening the muscles that I would need for the climb while also strengthening the smaller muscles that would help me protect my back. And I did weight training. I did different hikes around the area. Living in Fayetteville, Arkansas, I'm within 30 minutes to an hour of some amazing, beautiful, very strenuous hikes around here. So I did a little bit of everything every single week. Usually only took about a day off. And then unfortunately, it was Thanksgiving of that year that I started exhibiting excruciating pain in my shoulder, just in between my shoulder blade and my spine. And ended up seeing the doctor for it. Nothing could be found. Structurally, everything was good, but I couldn't raise my hand. I couldn't raise my arm, even to shoulder level. Nothing made it comfortable. And so, those last 6 weeks of training, the only thing I could do was walk. I couldn't even carry a backpack. So, of course, I'm freaking out at that moment. Like, how am I going to make this happen? But when I had that first glimpse of, should I cancel? What are my cancel options? I immediately said, no, there's no way. You've got to go over and at least try. And I also know my travel agent who helped me book this would not have let me cancel it. She told me, she's like, oh no, I was going to keep you on that trip. But it was just one of those things that, I listened to my body. I did what I could. But between all of the training that I did ahead of time, before I decided to do this, all my workouts and everything, I think played a really big part in this, to be able to continue that on, and is what really helped me those 6 weeks leading up to when I was leaving, that I didn't totally get out of shape and wasn't just completely starting from scratch.
Right. So all I can think, there's one word I can think of. It's for you. It's like determination, right? You were determined
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you weren't going to cancel the trip. And how do you climb with a bum shoulder? Very carefully, I suspect.
Yeah, and luckily for those that don't know, Kilimanjaro is not a an Everest type hike or climb. Kilimanjaro is a lot of steep hiking. There was lots of inclines. There was one day when we were on the lava tower, not the lava tower. It was the Bronco Wall, excuse me, and that was the most climbing that we had to do per se. And we couldn't use our walking poles because we needed our hands to get up and everything, but it still wasn't um, as strenuous as a Everest type climb. So what makes Kilimanjaro difficult is you go through so many different climates, from the rainforest to the moorlands to the wetlands to the very, very, very cold up at the top, the last 2 days. And obviously the elevation gets you. So um, it was a little bit of everything that makes Kilimanjaro so difficult. And being able to, at least by the time I got there, I knew I could at least put my backpack on, and was just Gonna pray for the best, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So you weren't kidding when you said to me when we first met that you were just an ordinary person who did a couple of extraordinary things. That is an extraordinary thing. Let's talk about what it takes here to be able to do in your mind, right? What does it take to develop a mindset of determination to do things like that and overcome, right, what you're feeling in your body?
Mhm. Well, sports played a big part in it for me. Growing up, I was always a competitor, and even before sports, I vividly remember in second grade, I used to race one of my classmates, Cody Russell, back from lunch every single day, and I would be infuriated if I lost. Thankfully, I didn't lose very much. We tied a whole lot more than he actually beat me. But I ended up having 13 stitches in the back of my leg when I was in second grade and couldn't race them. And it hurt, it was so awful for me. But sports really played a big role in my competitiveness and determination. And I had the mindset of I had to do my absolute best in order to be able to win. And the downfall that I learned on this trip about what winning was, I guess I shouldn't say the downfall. It seemed like a downfall in the moment, but as an athlete and a competitor, you're taught from the beginning that the only way that you win is if you come in first place. And when I was on the mountain, I was coming in dead last every single day. And that was very defeating. And on the third day, one of our guides asked me what was wrong because I wear my emotions on my face. I can't hide it. And I tried to play it off with him and it's like, oh no, I'm good. And he's Jodi, really, what's going on? And I just told him, I said, I'm coming in last. Like I am last every single day. And we were in a group of 10. And by the looks of some people, I didn't feel like I should be coming in last. But I was. And he said to me, Jodi, there's no prize for finishing first here. He said, somebody's already done that. He said, you're winning because you're finishing every day. And at the moment, I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's got a point. But it didn't necessarily click right away. It didn't really sink in until the summit night. And it was the 5th hour of the summit night when I realized that it did not matter about what place I came in up there. What winning was reaching the top. Winning was reaching Uhuru Peak. And when I had that mindset shift, it was it got so much easier mentally for me. Physically, it was still very demanding, but mentally, it was so much easier for me. And there's a quote that I like to tell people, especially my athletes, is mental is to physical as 4 is to 1. Mental is to physical as 4 is to 1, meaning the mental aspect of something that you're enduring physically is so much more than what the actual physical part is. And so I realized that when I told myself, you're going to be okay, you're going to do this, you've got this, it doesn't matter what place you're coming in, it's just about you getting there. And when I realized that for myself, I felt a weight lifted off of my shoulders and it made it easier. Wasn't easy, but it just made it easier. And it's one of the big things that trip taught me also is your mind and body will do things that you never imagined that you possibly could do. I never thought I could take 260,000 plus steps up to 19,000 plus feet in the air and make it to the top of a mountain. I never thought that my legs would be able to endure that. And I am not an outdoorsy person. I've been camping 3 times in my life, and that might be a stretch by saying 3. And here I am having to sleep, outdoors in a tent for an entire week and use drop toilets and not have a shower. But because I had that goal of reaching the top, I was going to do what I needed to do in order to get there. And my mind and my body were able to make it happen. And I didn't realize, like, I kind of thought I could do it, but at the same time, whenever you actually get through it and then you see what you did, it's just a wow moment,
Yeah.
because you see the steps, you see what your body went through, you see the thoughts that you have, you recollect on all of that, and it's really impressive. And I know a lot of people don't excuse me, a lot of people sometimes don't want to give themselves credit because they don't want to seem boisterous or prideful or whatever adjective you want to use for it. But it's okay to pat yourself on the back sometimes. And there's times when I'll mention to people that, yeah, I climbed Kilimanjaro, and they were like, well, you say that so matter of factly. It kind of is, but at the same time, there's times I do say it, I'm like, wow, I really did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, just having that, just understanding you have a lot more in you than you will ever realize.
Yeah. I recognize that when I'm working with my clients that they don't give themselves enough credit
Mhm.
for what they have achieved. And you said you can pat yourself on the back sometimes. Honestly, I think the more we pat ourselves on the back for the things we accomplish on a day-to-day basis, the small wins, the more likely we'll get used to doing that and give ourselves more credit over time, right?
Mhm.
And develop a mindset that says, I've done it before and I can do it again. It's not exactly the same circumstance. So for you, you climbed Kilimanjaro. And Machu Picchu was probably the like, okay, what's next, right? For you?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm so glad that you talked about what it took to flip the switch in your mind to redefine what success meant to you on that climb, because it's really the same thing in life when we have, big life decisions to make, when our career goes off the rails and we need to figure out what's next. It's how we think about it that's going to make the difference,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, and and that mindset that I had, that I learned at Kilimanjaro, really helped me with Machu Picchu. And the most the question I get the most when I tell people I've done both of those is, "Oh, which one's harder?" And my answer is they're both hard. They're just different kinds of hard. Just like in life, there's different kinds of hard.
Exactly.
There's the if, health-wise, yes, it is hard to work out and it's hard to eat healthy, but it's also hard to take time off to go to doctor's appointments, and it's hard to be able to pay for medications. So, which hard are you going to choose? But Machu Picchu was something I had always wanted to do, and apparently a lot of people do it flip. They'll go do Machu Picchu and then try and do something else, like Kilimanjaro afterwards. But Machu Picchu on the Inca Trail was the route that I took, was a 4-day trek, and on the second day, it felt like I was on a stairmaster for 8 hours because of the amount of stairs that there was, and it was really hard. But I also was able, because of what I went through on Kilimanjaro, I wasn't as hard on myself when I was coming in last every day, because I was last again, and I was
Yeah.
I was perfectly okay with that, because again, I still made it, and I still got to see an absolutely stunning part of this earth that not a lot of people get to see. And I'm not just talking about Machu Picchu itself, but I'm talking about the entire trail to get there, and being able to witness that and being able to understand and appreciate that. because oftentimes we don't enjoy the journey as much as we do the destination. And it was weird for me because I had never heard, like, I thought, honestly thought I'd come up that with that myself. It's like, enjoy the journey, not the destination, because I had never heard of it before Kilimanjaro. And then ever since
Right.
Kilimanjaro, I see it everywhere. And I was like, oh, well, at least I'm not the only one. I'm glad other people are realizing this,
Yeah.
because through all of the hard, through all of the no's, through all of the rejections, when you do get that yes, when you do reach that pinnacle, when you do reach that Uhuru peak, it makes everything so worth it. And you just appreciate reaching that point so much more when you've been able to understand and appreciate and enjoy the journey that it took you to get there.
I love that you said that because the parallels that we can draw in the story you just told to everyone that I know of, everyone's life, uh, we so much focus on the goal, right?
Mhm.
The win, the goal, and we are um, kind of hyper focused on what it will feel like to get there.
Mhm.
Now, there's some value in feeling that, right?
Mhm.
There's motivation in that for
Mhm.
sure. But often we, from day to day to day, as we're making it toward our goal, we lose sight of the little wins, of the
Mhm.
little blessings that happen, of the detours that happen that took us to a place we would never have gone to. It's one of the
Mhm.
reasons I love road trips and taking detours because they can be just beautiful, unexpected blessings that
Mhm.
we wouldn't have experienced otherwise. And that's it's that there's so many parallels to draw from your story to what we go through in our lives and our careers and the
Mhm.
the ebbs, the flows, the ups and the downs,
Mhm.
the struggles, the conditioning ourselves to get where we want to go. That is, we do that every day, whether we're climbing real mountains or metaphorical mountains, right?
Exactly. And one of the things that I did when I was training, we have a street here in Fayetteville that is Cleveland Street, and we call it Cleveland Hill. And the street is so steep that sports cars have to rev their engines to get up. Like, it's really steep. And I knew about this hill from college. Some The college basketball coach I worked with at the time, Nolan Richardson, he would have his guys run a particular route, and the ending of it was to run up Cleveland Hill. And I mean, there was guys that say they felt like they lost their soul on Cleveland Hill because
Wow.
it was that tough. And so I knew it would be something good for me that I could train on. And so I had one of my friends come with me, and 3 times a week we would do Cleveland Hill. There was a stop sign at the bottom, a stop sign at the top, and my friend is 6'4", so I'm only 5'9", so her legs are a lot longer than mine. And oftentimes she would get pretty far ahead of me. But one particular day, we knew we were going to do 4 up and downs of Cleveland Hill. And in
Wow.
my head, I was struggling, like, on the first block. It's about, they're really long blocks. I think it's about 4 blocks that we actually go up, but it's really long blocks. And I had just crossed the first one, and in my head, I'm thinking, how in the world am I going to be able to make 4? I'm already thinking about the end goal, and I'm struggling on the first one, and I'm so focused on the fourth one, I can't focus on the first one.
Uh,
And again, my friend sees my struggle, and she's half a block ahead of me already, and she turns around and asks me what's wrong, and I just didn't even say anything because I was that exhausted and tired. And it was the first one, and she just yelled out at me, "Go stop sign to stop sign. Just think about going stop sign to stop sign." And I was like, "Okay." So I just need to get to the top, I get to that stop sign. We go back down. Now it's just time to get to the next stop sign. And again, that made it easier. Again, that whole
Yeah.
mental aspect to the physical aspect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just worried about this one. And so then on the mountain, I actually did that whenever I'm trying to get to just to Stella Point, which is where the mountain kind of evens out before you get to Hoodoo Peak. And I just set a stop sign, particular rock, like that's my stop sign. I got to get there. And then I got to get to the next stop sign and get to the next one. And I think in life, we need to make sure that we're doing that as well and
Absolutely.
appreciating the stop sign that we get to. Like you were talking about,
Yes.
is it's your win. You
Celebrating the small wins. Absolutely.
exactly celebrate every single stop sign that you get to. And
Right.
some days your biggest win might be making your bed. And that's okay. Because you need to be able to celebrate that. And in a journal I give my clients, I have that to make sure that they understand whatever wins that you have for the day, make sure you write them down. No matter how insignificant you might think they be,
Right.
there's still wins, and you still need to understand that you did do something that day.
Right. And I love the way you put it, the stop sign to stop sign. That is a mindset shift that and it reminds me about, when we have big goals, they can be overwhelming sometimes until we start to break them down into smaller, more achievable chunks.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
stop sign to stop sign. That's
Mhm.
exactly what you did. You just broke that big goal down into more manageable chunks, and you got to the stop sign. Now you celebrate that, and now you get to the next stop sign, and you celebrate that. And before you know it, you're looking back to see how far you've come,
Mhm.
right? And you made it. You made it through to the ultimate goal. It may have taken you a little longer. You may have come last if you were racing somebody else as you did it, but it's a personal goal. It's not a competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's very, it's very humbling too, especially as a competitor, but at the end of the day, what is your goal? What are you looking to accomplish? I would always had this discussion with coaches when I was coaching college basketball. And, some people, their ultimate goal was they feel like they would have won if they got to a Power Five conference school. And I always combated that with, well, if you're at a Power Five school conference, if you're in the SEC or the Pac-10, excuse me, Pac-12 or the Big 12, but you're on one of those fifth place, sixth place, seventh place teams, is that really that much better than a mid-major conference or even a lower major conference where you're winning a conference championship?
Right.
How can you, like, what is your level? Because I feel like, me personally, I feel like winning in sports, yes, you need to win. And what does that winning and what does that success look like to you? Because I like championships.
And you like to
But
win
this
them, right? That's the
right.
competitive streak in you, right?
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people have a competitive streak in certainly in business. In corporate America, there's a lot of competition going on. I particularly don't love that. I prefer collaboration, but
Mhm.
uh, yeah. So let's talk about that need to win and how you grew into the mindset, the why not mindset of today from being so competitive. And how do you help athletes that you coach and business people that you coach who are just in it for the win?
Well, it definitely takes work in understanding that you have to be able to set a very healthy definition of winning for yourself. Not just a healthy one, but a realistic one as well. And you have to be able to understand that if there is a if there is a place value, and I really try, and whenever setting goals with my clients, I don't necessarily want to have if it's an athlete, I don't want them to say, I want to, get first place in our conference or whatever the case may be. It's more of a, what are you going to do to do your absolute best? Because I believe we need to make sure that we're doing our absolute best first in order to be able to compete against other people's absolute best. And some days your absolute best is not going to be better than somebody else. But if you gave everything that you had that day, that's still a win. And it's not always easy to see, but what are we getting out of a quote unquote second or third place finish? What are you getting out of that to be able to propel you to the next meet, to the next game, to the next course, for you to ultimately be able to win? And whenever they ask, well, why do I need to do this? Why does this need to happen? Why doesn't it need to happen? Why shouldn't you work on this to be able to propel you, especially if it's something new? Because we all have this, a lot of people, I won't say all, a lot of people, especially competitors, it's hard for them to try something new, especially if they have been successful with something else. And it's like eating, having a healthy diet. Well, I feel fine now. Yeah, but how much better could you feel if you did put more XYZ into your body, if you put more healthy nutrients into your body? How much better could you feel? Yeah, you feel good now, but how do you know you couldn't feel great? So why not try something to elevate that? Why not try something to elevate your skills and what you know and your knowledge? Why not elevate that to be able to elevate you to the next position?
So I think what you're getting at here is, I mean, everyone has the capacity, right, to be at their best,
Mhm.
whatever that is,
Mhm.
right? Um, they have to want it though, right? They have to be determined that to find out. So I wonder what it would look like or what it would feel like if I did it this way
Mhm.
and be curious and not be afraid to give it a try to
Mhm.
see. And if it doesn't work for you, okay, back to the drawing board. Let's try something else. But that's a mindset in and of itself, isn't it? Of
Mhm.
the desire to be better, do better, and and test things out so that we can discover what makes us better, right?
Exactly. And sometimes the stubbornness of competitors can get in their way of that, and the willingness to try something new, especially
Mhm.
if they have been successful at something. Um,
And I think there's a stubborn streak in a lot of people, right?
mhm.
Who are saying it's good enough. I'm good enough, right?
Mhm. And
And
it's
go ahead.
I always, people, I remember talking to somebody when I was at a particular school, and I was just, saying how bad it was, and their answer was like, "Well, it could be worse." And my answer was, "Well, it could definitely be better too."
Yeah.
Like, I understand it could be worse. I understand my life situation could absolutely be worse, but it can also be better. And I really think that people need to understand that, like, yes, you celebrate where you are, and you are very thankful for where you are, but that doesn't mean that you have to stay there.
Right.
And there is room for that improvement.
And a lot of people are feeling very grateful for everything they have and how they got here, but they feel stuck here.
Hmm.
So now there's a choice to make, right? So what do you want to do about that?
Hmm.
And it's having the determination to say, I need to change something. I don't know what that is, but I need to change something because I know that this is not where I want to stay.
And having the courage to say that, and and admitting it to yourself.
Yes.
And I think that again, that's something that people don't give themselves credit for as well. And some of the things that, I have a friend that she's kind of scared to say that she wants a certain thing because to others it may look like she's selfish or whatever the case may be. And I told her that doesn't matter.
Doesn't
That's what
matter.
you want.
Right.
And if
It
that is
doesn't
what
matter.
you want and that's how you feel and that's
Yeah.
how you would feel better operating, then you have every right to be able to do that. And it
Yeah.
was hard for her to actually say it out loud because when we say things out loud, it becomes real. And
Well, that's
that can be
right.
very scary.
Yeah. Now you've put it out into the universe, and now we get to play with this idea, right? So
Mhm,
what if, right? So many people who feel stuck and may acknowledge that they don't like where they are. They
mhm.
also don't know how to get what they want, and some people don't even know what they want. And that's where getting some help, talking to people, surrounding yourself with people who have done what you want to do, are
Mhm.
where you want to be, and figuring out what their journey was like and what did they do to get off the dime here and get unstuck from where they are. That's why you and I do what we do, right? To help people get unstuck.
Exactly. And also for people to realize you're not the only one feeling that way. You're not the only
So
one
true.
that's been through the situation.
Yep.
And when you have the courage to open up about it, then you're going to realize how many more people either are going through the same thing and can help you or are going through the same thing and it helps them be open and vulnerable to be able to say it out loud as well.
Yeah.
And it's that in itself is very powerful.
Yep. Yep. So, do you believe anybody can adopt this why not mindset?
100%. 100% because it's not something that I believe that it can apply to all aspects of life.
Mm,
And whenever you're thinking about contemplating doing something, instead of asking yourself why are you doing it, ask yourself why you're not doing it. What is it really that's what legitimately is wrong with what you want to try to do, not what you think society says or what your, significant other says or whatever the case may be, but why not try something that you have wanted to do, wanted to make a move on? Why not? What is it
why not?
really that's going to harm you in any kind of way? And more than likely it's not going to be anything too significant.
Yeah, I think that's a question we could ask ourselves in a lot of situations, right? Where we feel like uh, I'm not sure that I should do that. Well, what is holding you back? Is it something you want to do? Well, yeah, I think I would like to do that. But what's holding you back? Well, so and so doesn't think I should, or blah, 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 whatever the excuse is, right?
Mhm.
And it's at that point that you have to ask yourself, why not do that?
Mhm.
What are the good reasons? Why not?
Mhm.
And those are hard to come up with. And those are motivators right there. When you can't come up with a reason not to do something, that's a huge motivator.
It really is, and I think, it's oftentimes I think, I think I mentioned this before, I don't have kids, and I have majority of my friends do have kids, and oftentimes they will say, I'll ask them, why aren't you doing this? Oh, my kids. Well, is that a reason or is that an excuse?
Mm,
And the majority of the time when I ask that question, they say it's an excuse.
yeah,
And so it's like, don't make sure that you're make sure that you are because you have kids, why not show them that their parent can do something extraordinary? Why
right,
not show them that their parent can set a goal for themselves and they can accomplish this?
right.
Kind of shifting the mindset of the way that you're looking at it as opposed to, what is your kid going to get out of it if you do it versus I can't do it because of my kid.
Right. Who would benefit if you did that extraordinary thing? Or what extraordinary or ordinary doesn't really
Hmm.
matter,
Hmm.
right? It's setting yourself as a role model,
Hmm.
right, for achieving something that's important to you and figuring out how to work around. I mean, having the responsibility of children is a big responsibility. And
Hmm.
certainly we make compromises about the things that we might do in our lives as a result
Hmm.
because we have children. However, there are ways to work around that. And it may not be able to happen tomorrow because you have
Right.
children,
Exactly.
right? But it could happen next year.
Hmm.
And you could plan for that, and your
Hmm.
children could see you planning for that.
Exactly.
And then you get to do that, and your children are benefiting from it. And, you know, you don't need that excuse anymore.
Right. And the thing that 99.9% of parents I know, they want to be able to set a good example for their children. They want to be able to show their children what they can do. And by not doing something that they want, sometimes they don't realize how much their children get out of that and how
Right.
much their children gain from that, from seeing
Sure.
mom or dad
Watch.
accomplish something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Jodi, this has been, I think, an insightful conversation. There are so many parallels that we can draw from your story, your journey, to a lot of our lives and the ordinary things that we do in business and in life, and how the mind uh, and our mindset can play in our favor. So I would love for you to help us wrap up the show today, kind of wrap it in a bow for us. Um, would you share with us your key takeaways, maybe tips, practical tips for us? What would be your
sure.
first one for us?
My first one would be the quote, "Mental is to physical as 4 is to 1," because even though you might not necessarily be doing something physically demanding, with working out or climbing a mountain or whatnot, but we all know that just everyday life can be tiring. But when you have the appropriate mindset, that will make it easier because the way that your mind will help your body get through it. So mental is to physical as 4 is to 1 would be the first one.
I love that. I think that's such a great it's a great analogy, right? To
Mhm.
think about, our mind is 4 times more powerful than our body can
Mhm.
stop us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. What's your second one?
The second one would be stop sign to stop sign.
Ah,
When you're setting that big goal, it can get overwhelming at sometimes, and you can kind of lose sight of what you're doing along the way, and it can play into that whole mindset of mental is to physical. And if you look at your large goal and you break it down into your stop signs, and that can be daily, weekly, hourly, doesn't matter, but you have these stop signs that you're going to. And once you get to one stop sign, you turn around, you celebrate what you accomplished in that one, and then you work towards the next stop sign, and eventually you will get towards that ultimate goal.
love that. Break down those big goals. Yeah, much more manageable when you can do that. And you get to celebrate more too, don't you?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what's your last one?
Why not? Why
Yeah.
not try for something that you've been thinking about for a long time, whether it's going back to school, taking an adventure, going for a promotion, looking for a new job? And what is it really think about why not try that? I know there's a lot of people in life who are looking to switch careers completely, maybe going from corporate to, working for themselves or being a nomad, whatever the case is. People are going to ask you all the time, why are you doing this? Why not? Why not do this? Why not give yourself the opportunity to do this? Because 9 times out of 10, you can always go back to what you were doing. Why not try something new? And why not expose yourself to an opportunity that you may never get to try again, you may never have known was there. I never thought that I was going to be in this situation I am right now. But it's because I said, well, why not? Why not try this? Why not try speaking? Why not try being a mindset coach? And here I am, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I can tell you are. You're an inspirational speaker. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the why not mindset is it's just so powerful when you think in those terms. Not to keep, not to allow yourself to be stopped by the fear, because there's a lot of that when
Mhm.
you're trying something new. So as Susan Jeffers many years ago wrote a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's still a great book to read. And that's kind of what you're saying is, yeah, there's fear, there's unknown stuff that's going to cause us to pause, but break through that fear and try it anyway. Why
I
not?
love that. Feel the fear anyways.
Yeah, feel the fear and do it anyway. Yep. Jodi, thank you so much for being here. This has been a delightful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Good. I am glad that you did. And for those of you watching and listening, I appreciate that you're a part of this community. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a comment, share your favorite episode, and let us know that you liked it. Creating and sharing resources for women is one of my favorite things. And another favorite thing is being a career and life coach for women navigating challenging times and helping them get unstuck, to explore new possibilities and find harmony in their careers and lives. So, if something in this episode resonates with you and you'd like a fresh perspective, let's continue the conversation. The links to connect with us are in the show notes below. Reach out, let's have a chat. And then let's meet again here next time on Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, for another inspiring conversation. Because you know what? I believe it's our time to thrive. So let's thrive together. Till next time, I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, helping you turn transition into triumph.